From the Atonement Fargo studios on South University Drive in Fargo, North Dakota, this is That Podcast. Hey, to contact the crew, submit your questions or comments, go to atonement.live/podcastquestions. And now, here's those crazy people with That Podcast.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to That Podcast. My name is Ryan Janke, and as always, I'm joined by Pastor DJ Lura and Sarah DeYoung. And today we're going to talk Vacation Bible School, so buckle up for that. We have invited Katie Stensgard to the show to talk about how we are going to do VBS during the COVID-19 pandemic. Katie is the Director of Kids Ministry, correct, here at Atonement?
Yes, that is my official title.
Official.
Official, very official.
Yes.
Yes.
So before we get going on VBS, would you mind sharing your faith story with us?
Unofficial title is Herder of Cats.
Also known as my children. And if you've met them, you know that that is not an understatement. It's very accurate. Yes. So faith story. I actually grew up in this church. My parents were not founding members, but they came, I was probably in second grade. So I grew up in the church, and I always thought I was a Christian and thought I did the right things. And so we'll condense this down a little bit because it's kind of big. But anyways.
Well, we want to fill a good hour and a half, so just let it go.
I could probably fill an hour on my faith story.
As the spirit moves, just let it go.
Okay.
We don't have format here.
No.
Okay. That's good to
Just
know.
roll.
Because that's kind of my life. There's no formatting to my life. So I feel like I'll fit right in here. Anyway, yeah. So fast forward to, I got to, college age, and I moved out to Colorado, and I kind of, I remember kind of just turning, it was a very purposeful turning away. I knew what I should do, but at that point in my life, I didn't want to do it. There was other things I wanted to do more. And so I kind of closed that door on God. And at first I'd kind of hear the little, the Holy Spirit, the voice oh, you shouldn't do that. But kind of the farther down that road I got, the easier it was to ignore it or not even think about it. And so I lived out in Colorado for almost 6 years, and by worldly standards, I was kind of living the dream. I was a recreation outdoor leadership major, so I went rock climbing. I led rock climbing classes. I was a freestyle snowboarding instructor. A lot of my friends were pros or semi-professionals, so I got lots of free gear because in the summer I would coach up on Mount Hood. And so, some of my roommates were in the Olympics, and I got free stuff, and I had, the VIP clients, so I would, go out and hang out with them and, party at night with them, and just, but it got to the point, so I did that for a while, and at first it was kind of fun, even though I knew it was wrong, but then after, 6 years of that, it kind of, the phrase, the good times are killing me, that's what I felt like. I felt the void. I felt just this emptiness. I knew kind of it just felt everything was meaningless. I would do the same things over again, and there wasn't a point. And then the last year, I had a bunch of friends die. There was avalanches, and one of my friends got crushed by the thing that kind of grates the mountain or the snow, and just kind of a few horrific accidents. And it just kind of really made me feel my own mortality and really opened my own eyes about just because to ride at a certain level, to snowboard at a certain level, there's always an element of risk. And so, and just being younger, I didn't really think about it oh, it's not going to happen to me. I'm not going to get, but I had a bunch of friends, get hurt really badly and die that year. Quite a few friends die, where it kind of put my own mortality, quantified it for me in a way that I hadn't really this could happen to me. I know these people. I was just hanging out with this person yesterday. And so I just remember praying for the first time in a long time, because I'd been feeling pretty empty before that. And then I just had towards the end of the year, it was pretty close together that all these people started passing away. And I was just whoa, what's going on here? And kind of had I guess it'd be a quarter life crisis. And just was okay, God, there's got to be more than this. There's got to be I know I haven't been doing what's right. And I think within a couple of days of praying again, I got a phone call from my dad, And he was like, hey, so I have been doing mission work in Chimbote, Peru with Father Jack. And the girl who's the volunteer coordinator she's going back to England because usually they sign a year contract and they do their year and they go back. And so she'd actually been there a year and a half because they were kind of looking for someone and they couldn't find anyone that was a good fit. And I was like, oh, well, I like to travel and I like to, I feel like that would be a good fit for me. And just looking back, it's, you can see how, God made you and he made you a certain way. And so he made, it made it very appealing to me. Like, oh, I'm going to use all these things that I know you like to kind of bring you back to me. And so I applied for the job. I don't think anyone else applied for the job because it was you're pretty remote. You live in a very poor area. It didn't really pay anything. So, but it sounded great to me. And I was like, and I was just needing to get out. And I knew that like, if I stayed where I was, it was going to be hard to change my life because I had all my friends that, it was too easy to fall back into the same old habits. So I was like, yeah, I'll think about it. And it just became very clear, like even, not having talked to God for a while and just, very recently renewing that relationship, it just still became very clear, like, okay, this is what, like obviously there's doors opening here, then I should walk through them. And so then, so I took the job and it was a couple months later, I went and I lived in Chimbote, Peru. And it was really through living in Peru and just through service. Service has always kind of been like how I feel like I connect to God best, through serving others. Like my relationship to God kind of comes alive in a new way. Like that's kind of how God and I communicate best, through service. And that's kind of like my love language. So just through serving others and just put a lot of things in perspective for me too. Just seeing how, economically the people there were very poor, but spiritually they were very rich. And it just really opened my eyes to, okay, they don't have anything, like by worldly standards, they're not doing well. And yet like here they are, like some of like the happiest and most generous people. Like in my job, I would help people and they would like bake meals for me and invite me over to their house with, like they didn't have any extra money. They would use like their last dollar to do that, or their soles in Peru. And it was just very, and they wouldn't ask for anything in return because they wanted to give something to you. And so it was gradually through my time in Peru that I feel like kind of like God was leaving breadcrumbs back to him. And so when I got back to the United States, I kind of, I got involved in BSF and just kind of kept growing in my relationship with God. And then about 3 years ago, because I'd been a children's leader at BSF, and then I started teaching Sunday school here, and during that time I had gotten married and had kids. And then I remember one day I was like just randomly in church hanging out, and Mark's like, hey, have you ever wanted to work for the church before? And I was like, not really. I hadn't really thought about it. Why do you ask? And that was when Lisa had transitioned to daycare. He's like, well, we have this position open, and like, we just, we think you would be a good fit. And I was like, well, I don't know. I'm kind of like, I have I had 4 kids at the time. They were 5 and under. And I was like, I kind of have all this going on. And he's like, well, maybe you should just come, let's just have a conversation about it. So I came in and I had a conversation with him. And I was like, okay, well, like everything you're saying to me sounds really good. But like, I just don't feel like I'm too busy. I don't feel like it's going to fit into my life. Like taking care of like these 4 kids, 5 and under, like literally consumes all my time. But I was like, it all sounded good. We had a good conversation. And so we ended like, okay, I'll just pray about it. And so then once again, through prayer, like it just became very obvious that God was opening the door, and I didn't know how all the pieces were going to work. But sometimes it's just stepping through the door and trusting God to sort out the pieces, like while you're walking through the hallway. So I was like, okay, well, let's, obviously like he's leading me through this door and he's going to work out how everything, fits together in the end. And it's just looking back to where I am now, like it was totally his will that I take this job and that I be here. And he's, made that clear multiple times over. So in a nutshell, I try to condense it down. That is my story.
Yeah. It is weird how he trains us for the next season. We're always being trained for the next thing we're doing. Right. I think it's really neat. So you've been here 3 years?
Yeah, 3 years in October, I think. That's right.
Yeah.
Right. Because you've
'Cause we
almost
were
been
both.
here. Yeah. I was like looking at Sarah because I was like, we came right around the same time.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we were hired within like a month of each other, something like that. Yeah.
That's a great. I really appreciate you sharing your story. As you were talking about the things that you were doing in your 20s, I'm like, they paid you money to do that?
Right.
I didn't know that could be a job.
I know. I was like, how come no one else has discovered this? I was like, literally, I snowboard all day and I go off the big jumps and they just like pay me money to take younger kids off these jumps with me.
Wow.
Right.
That's cool.
Yeah, it was pretty fun at first.
Yeah.
Well, that's true youth ministry training, to get young people to jump off the cliff with you.
Yeah.
Right.
Trust me.
You're going to be okay.
Trust me.
Well, they kind of really wanted to, too. So there was that.
Yeah.
They were already pretty motivated.
Did you go to any Broncos games while you were there?
I did not. I went
Get out.
to.
Well, thanks for coming in.
I wasn't really into football, and we had some of the college I went to. We had a football team, but I don't think they like ever won even a game because literally like no one was there to watch football. Everyone was there to recreate, like rock climb and mountain bike, and
Wow.
Sounds like MSUM. Kind of the same situation.
Right, but they never win.
So have you tried the Atonement rock climbing wall? And how does that stand up with the real
with
deal?
A real, it doesn't. But
Oh, okay.
it was
It stands
fun.
up just
I think
fine.
It
it's
holds in
okay. There was one time
Velcro.
Zach and I were like, let's set some routes, which never happened. Like Zach had a baby, and I don't know, it just never happened. Yeah. But I remember I've been up there once. It was when the daycare was here and we were blankets, Zach and I, and he's like, why don't you climb up the wall? And I was like, okay. I used to work at Galleons too. So we would do, they had a rock climbing wall. So way before I moved out to Colorado, and I was like into rock climbing, and my friends and I would just like drive to random states and like live in tents and climb, and like I've had kind of a random life. So we worked at the Galleons wall and kind of the same thing, but they would let us set our own routes, and we would like set our routes, and sometimes we would wear lots of their equipment and like climb up, like we're like, it's like mountaineering, and they didn't super like that, but they didn't fire us, so that was cool.
So
it's marketing. You're showing off the gear that they got.
Yeah, we had like the helmet and the pack stuff, and we're on Everest.
It's training.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If Everest was like 2 stories tall. Yeah.
Speaking of the rock wall, so the cameras that we have here are mounted up on the wall, so you have to climb up a ladder to get to them, turn them on and off. And last week I had Eli do that, climbed up on the ladder. He did that. We got home and he told my wife that he went on the rock climbing wall and swung over back and forth to turn them on and off.
Well, he gets points for that story.
Yeah. And she like half believed him. Like she looked at me, really? No. Why would we do that?
Right. I'm sure she didn't love that.
Yeah, no, she was like, I don't think so, but I'm going to double check this.
Right.
So, yeah.
That's Eli just learning the very important lesson, though, that it's super easy to convince your mom that your dad let you do bad things.
Right.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
that sounds about right.
that's probably more where the half, well, maybe this is true because she knew that he was with me.
We're just like, well, what else do I know that Ryan's done that is true? Like, could have happened.
Oh, man. So anyway,
anywho.
Summer is, July 4th has passed, so is summer halfway over or is it all the way over?
It's fall.
It's fall now.
Right? We're like on the back stretch of summer.
Yeah.
After 4th of July, it's all downhill.
Yeah. And we haven't had VBS yet.
No.
So VBS, when I grew up,
Real quickly, what does VBS stand for? In case we have someone who's like, what are they talking about?
Oh, I thought maybe I said that earlier, but it's Vacation Bible School.
Vacation, and then that's different than Sunday school?
That is different than Sunday school.
Oh.
It is different. We'll let Katie get into that. She's the VBS expert around here.
Ooh, I get to be an expert now.
But why don't you tell us about how we do VBS here, and then we can all maybe share our VBS stories from our ute.
Yeah, well, and I'll tell you how we have done VBS, and then we're doing a few changes this year because of COVID. But VBS is one of Like literally we spend months preparing for it. It's like one of the most exhausting weeks of the summer, but like by far the most fun week of the summer. Like we do so many crazy things for VBS. Like last year we had a exploding paint volcano that mostly Jarl, I helped, but mostly Jarl. Jarl gets credit for that. I just exploded things. It was really fun. But yeah, it's just really fun. We have stations. We have Imagination Station, which is kind of, we do sciencey gizmos. There's always a game station, which is usually Zach. Like, who doesn't want to play games with Zach?
Mm-hmm.
Usually it ends up some kind of like water, get Zach wet. Zach got
beat up on Zach somehow.
Beat up on Zach. Everyone loves that.
Yeah, maybe I'll sign up for VBS.
That's right. Don't you do that anyway. Yeah, so we do that, and then there is the Bible station. So, and typically we would have like an opening and a closing, which because of COVID this year, we're not going to do that because we're trying to do away with just large groups and keep the groups smaller. So we're going to have the stations, and they're going to be a little longer, and we're going to focus on doing our teaching through the stations, and then we have a few fun surprises at the end. We're going to have our friend Thad, who does magic shows. He's going to do like a foam bubble party. It's his new business, but it's going to be really fun because who doesn't want to dance in foam bubbles? Like, sounds amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The answer would be no one.
No one. Right? So
No one doesn't want to.
Right.
Double negative.
Which means everyone does.
Everyone. Everyone.
Everyone.
Well, because technically then you wouldn't have to take a bath or a shower after you get home.
No,
from
and it's
VBS.
summer, so especially no. That like covers you for at least 4 or 5 days.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah, because the foam is like soap.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, for
so
sure.
you'll have all the main components of a shower.
Yeah. Okay. So VBS is happening when?
August 9th through 13th, because we pushed it back a little bit. Typically, we're end of July, but we pushed it back just because we wanted to, with the changing guidelines, and we wanted to make sure that we could still have it. And so it's in person. We are taking some precautions, but it's 9th through 13th, 6 to 7:45 at night.
6 to 7:45. We used to do 2.5 hours.
Yeah, like it would ended up being like 2 hours, 15 minutes, because we tried to do 2 hours and we kept like bleeding over because we had way too much fun. So we're like, well,
It's good fellowship time for the parents when they come pick up their kids.
That's right.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes.
For sure.
It is. And the staff, volunteers always kind of like each other too, so they'd hang out and visit after and before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. Okay. So 6 to 7:45, an hour and 45 minutes. When I did Vacation Bible School, first of all, we did it the week after school was out. So I suppose they figured it would just be easier to herd us then.
Mm-hmm.
Like these kids are all used to sitting down.
They figured you'd still have some piece of an attention span.
Correct. Yeah, which wasn't much anyway. No. But, and we would do it like all day. I don't remember the hours exactly, but it was like 9 to 4 or something crazy like that. Like all day long, we'd pack our lunch. We'd do the same things. We'd beat up on one of the leaders would always get beat up on. And we would go, I think we were in the same classroom. Like
the whole day?
The whole day. Like
we're not going to do that.
We'd have recesses. And I don't remember everything that we learned. But yeah, that wasn't true. We would go to, we'd probably go to what would be the sanctuary there and sing songs or do whatever. And we did stuff outside, but yeah, it was all day long.
Wow.
Yeah, I remember, and I'm from a small town too, and I know you grew up in a small town. I think that, I don't know if it has to do with a small town atmosphere, because it was kind of the same for me as a kid. You'd go at like, it was a week long, and you would go at like 9 a.m, and you'd be there till like 3 or 4.
Mm-hmm.
And the things that I remember best about it was making macaroni shakers with plastic cups. For some reason that's stuck with me. Or plastic plates, and you glue the ends of it, and you can shake it up.
Yeah.
And playing Red Rover.
Oh yeah,
Yes.
we did that too for sure.
We used to do that Wednesday night. I've never done it at VBS.
To me, I've always associated that game with Vacation Bible School. Like that's the VBS game. You got to play Red Rover, otherwise, what are we doing?
Yeah.
But then, much later, when I was in public ministry, I was serving in big cities, and I don't know if it was a change in time from like the 80s till today, because now you have more so both moms and dads or guardians working during the daytime,
Mm-hmm.
and not someone that could volunteer for
Yeah.
VBS. Because if I remember correctly, the VBS teachers were usually like teachers that were on vacation during the summer.
Yep.
And the older women in the church that always did all the work anyway, but kept an eye on all of us rascals at the same time. The last several years that I've been involved with VBS at different churches, it's always been in the evening.
Yes.
Yep.
Like what Katie is talking about.
Yeah,
and in a large group, small group type format with different stations for different activities. Like you'd go and you hear a Bible story in one place, then you'd go and you'd beat up on Zach for 45 minutes.
Yeah. Yep.
And then you'd go and, do some crafts and science, and it's the same story, but you're learning it in different, through different methods, and it keeps it really exciting.
Yeah.
Right.
And I don't remember this so much as a kid, but as an adult, being involved with VBS, I've always seen VBS as kind of like a springboard into Sunday school for the school year. Is that kind of your is that your methodology? I mean, is it all tied together? Does VBS lead to Sunday school, or is it they're similar, but this is supposed to be a special thing all by itself, like an island unto itself?
Yes. Yeah, for both of them. I definitely do view it as a springboard into Sunday school. And I do, so the curriculums we use for VBS and Sunday school are both, they're both Group, which is a company that puts them out.
They're
And I
great.
like Group because they're very hands-on. And I feel like, especially the way that kids have learned, or the way that we teach has changed. I have a background, I have a teaching degree. But so my personal opinion and studies have shown too that kids learn better by being active participants in their learning and just being hands-on and doing stuff rather than just sitting there and listening. So that's kind of our focus in VBS and in Sunday school. Like we want them to be active participants in the story because we feel like they absorb it better, they learn it better, and they have more fun. Like who wants to sit there and not have fun for an hour?
Exactly.
So we do, and really VBS I view it as our biggest children's outreach of the year because what I like is it's always a nice blend of like kids that go to Atonement, but kids like that I've never seen before, which is awesome. So kids love to bring their friends, but there's people from the community that find out about it from like the road sign or from hearing it on the radio, and they come and they love it. Like we have families that we don't see them the rest of the year, but we see them every year for VBS, and like it's kind of like they write in, they're like, oh, when's VBS? Like we want to like schedule our family vacation around it. So that's kind of fun too, that they like VBS so much. And I remember my first year here when I was doing it, our theme was shipwrecked. And on the last day, we're like, okay, kids, like we have to leave the island. Jarl and I were up front, and the kids started shouting, we don't want to leave the island. We want to stay forever. And I was like, okay, that's a successful VBS.
Yes,
like
it
no
is.
one wants to go home. So we have a lot of fun, but it's fun with a purpose. Obviously we're sharing Jesus Christ. And a lot of the kids, I think that's, they don't get it anywhere else, especially the ones that are coming from the community. So we don't want to, but it's not too churchy. We don't speak, what do you call it? Where,
Inside baseball language.
Right. Yeah. So it's in a way that every kid can relate to because we also make it very relatable. We like, this is what Jesus taught and this is how it relates to our everyday life. So we talk about, bullying or just different topics that, the Bible talks about that they may never have realized before.
That's what I really like about the Group material. And also Group does a good job of like coming up with memorable characters.
Yes.
That stick with you throughout the entire experience of whatever the theme is.
Right.
Last year was my first VBS here, and it was so much fun and so good for me for being a new pastor that we were doing we were checking them in electronically as kind of a new way of doing that.
Right.
I got to learn so many kids' names
and
their families and their connections that I'm like, just on a Sunday, I wouldn't have had that opportunity to do that. So it was a lot of fun. And then I got to work with the 4-year-olds.
Yeah. So
Talk
they
about
beat
hurting
it.
cats. I mean,
Right.
So it's beat up on Pastor DJ Day
Yes.
today.
That's just a different kind of energy right
yeah,
there.
that's right.
Was last year Safari? Was that the one?
You roar.
Yeah.
Yep. So it was
Roar.
Safari. Yep.
The Safari one, yeah. I remember Dave being Pharaoh.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not going to forget that one. Yeah. And Dave almost got beat, or maybe he did
He
get
did.
beat.
I
he
have
got
pictures
beat up.
of him.
Yeah.
getting
They really got
pummeled.
after Pharaoh.
Yeah, they did not like Pharaoh.
No.
So if we can summarize, VBS is about finding somebody and beating on them for a
beating
week.
them up.
Yep.
And everyone leaves with in tears.
But they had a lot of fun.
They had a lot of fun.
They did. Although, I mean, Pharaoh was not a great guy. So good job, Dave. Really getting into character, making that character come alive.
Oh, he did for sure. Yeah, it's cool that people will schedule their vacation around VBS. That it's that important to them. That's really cool. Really neat.
Yeah.
Remind me again, when is VBS this year?
August 9th through the 13th.
August
You
9th
got
through
it.
the 13th from 6 to 7:45.
Yep.
Yes. Yep.
Now, this year, we're not going to be checking in electronically, are we?
We will be. So we're moving everything outside. So, yes, we're still figuring that component out, but we should be. We're going to have a check-in station, and then they're going to go right to their small groups. We're going to have small group waiting areas. So, largely the focus is sticking with their small groups. We want to limit the people they come into contact with. But yes, there should be. We're going to have like a drop-off loop where they'll check in, and then parents will come through, and they don't even have to get out of their cars, and they'll pick up right from their cars again, and we'll bring the kids over. So
Too cool.
And we should back up. Maybe you mentioned this earlier, but it's you have to register. No walk-ups this year.
Register, yeah. And I've always I'm pretty I hesitate to use the word laid back, but I want as many people to come as possible. So we typically have taken walk-ins, and now just because of COVID, we've had to change just for keeping the kids safe and extra cleaning and stuff. We kind of need to know how many are going to be there and have groups assigned beforehand. So this year, unfortunately, there won't be walk-ins. Our registration cutoff is August 2nd. So register before then.
Okay. What if I'm vulnerable or my kid's vulnerable? Are they just out on VBS this year, or is there a alternative
No.
for them?
There is. Funny you should ask that. We also have an online version of VBS. So that is, so you're going to get the same experience, but you go through it with your parents. Your parents are your group leaders at home. And so we would either mail you, or if you're in town here, drop off on your doorstep. You still get a fun multi-clava, a t-shirt, and then all the materials for the different stations. And you would go through it online. You'd get like a email link out every day, and you could do it with us that way.
So you just said a word there, multi-clava. Is that the ninja mask that I am sporting right now?
Yes.
I have Atonement VBS merch on right now.
It is. They're very fun. So the first time I saw them, I do a lot of races, and that's usually in their little like swag bags, the goodie bags. They hand out
dirt track racing or
no, like running racing.
Oh, running racing.
Running. Yeah, I wish I'm not that tough, but that would be cool. I think at almost 40, it might be a little late in life for me to pick that up, but But yeah, so they hand them out in races because you can actually use them as neck gaiters. They can be headbands, they can be face coverings, they can be armbands. So I was like, oh, cool, and they're nice because they don't tie. So especially for kids,
right.
You can you just scoot them up your face. You just pull them up. And if you're playing a game or you have to run, but you're distanced and you want to pull it down or you want to get a drink of water, you just pull it down. You don't have to worry about untying it, and then just pull it up when you're done. So, and they're super lightweight and breathable too, which is nice.
Yeah, I like them a lot. In this age of COVID, I'm sure like a medical mask gives more protection, but this is just so convenient.
Right.
To pull up and down. And like I said, I've been looking for an excuse to dress like a ninja for years.
Yeah.
And now, finally.
Yeah.
You never have to take it off.
I'm a big fan of them because if you're a CBS Survivor fan, it's basically the same thing that they give out to the contestants on Survivor as the bandanas.
Yes.
So
And you get
I don't need to go on the show
keep
and
it forever.
Yeah.
Did you order extras for yourself, Sarah?
I wasn't in charge of ordering them, but
Oh.
I got a lot. Don't worry.
Perfect.
Because I was like, well, look at how, like, all the staff need these, all the volunteers.
Yep.
So all the kids get them, all the volunteers get them, all the staff here get them. We're going to be looking cool all week and after because you get to keep them.
Got it. Yeah.
What about the folks that join us online? Will they get something like this too, or no?
Definitely. Yeah, they get
that's so
all
cool.
the same stuff.
All right, good.
Neat. Okay.
So come to church, get free stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
for
which
sure.
is usually always the case. We like giving stuff away. Yeah.
Get free stuff. Beat up on Zach. Boy, I mean,
Or Pastor DJ.
Right? What more could you
no, I'm
want?
not with the 4-year-olds this time around.
I wanna stay third down the line for getting beat up. So it's Zach, DJ, and
It's taken a year for my bruises to heal. We'll move Dave up on the list. I'm just gonna back out.
As the Pharaoh.
Kate. How did you do VBS when you were a kid?
I was trying to think, like, I don't really remember going to VBS. I went once at my cousin's like country church, and all I remember is like my cousin like wasn't very nice to me, and I was like, I don't want to go. He's gonna pick on me. But I do remember. So I worked at iPoint for 2 years, and I remember. So they do like day camp kind of VBS, and so when I was on staff, which was I think it was like 2001, it must have been. That was the first year that they had their like VBS day camp program. So it was kind of like what you guys were talking about. It was like all day, it was 9 to 3, and it was kind of like a mini camp. So we had like the games, and we had I'm trying to remember, it's all a blur. And that was a long time ago.
I'm sure there's macaroni art of some kind.
Yes, there's
there has
art,
to be.
there was snack and lunch and games, and I don't think we did like a rabbit hunt or anything. But it was still fun.
What about you, Sarah?
We didn't do VBS at my church growing up, but I do remember at some point in middle school, because so when I started working here and Mark was kind of giving me the rundown of all of the events and all the whatnots, and he was like, oh, VBS. My first thought was when I was in middle school, I went for my friends for VBS, and I use that term loosely because it was like we got there, and they're like, all right, cool, good to see you. You're going to go volunteer now. So we like ended up being at a food bank or the Red Cross for the whole week, which it was fun.
Okay.
But it like, so when VBS was here, I was like, you're going to do that with a bunch of kids?
Right. Take them out in the community.
Like, oh, I will say this though. So with me working at CCRI, I bring a lot of clients to church and all this stuff. And I will go toe to toe with anybody. I think Atonement is one of the like top VBS because it is all encompassing, like everybody who is volunteering and staff are into it. The whole building is decorated usually when it's not COVID. And even I'm sure outside there's still going to be, everybody's going to be like pumped into it 100%.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Yeah, it's a fun week. And yeah, you're right. The entire community comes together for it. It's kind of like a magical experience that way.
It is.
You transform the space, and it's a lot of fun.
Well, and I have, and just to say like how much fun it is, like, so I have a lot of kids because usually we go to 5th grade. So I always have 5th graders come up like, but I want to come back next year. And I'm like, well, the great news is you can come back as a helper. And so we have so many in Sunday school too. Like we have so many helpers and like later teachers because of kids that have gone through the program, loved it, like don't want to stop coming. So then they just transition into helpers and
Yeah.
DJ, you were talking about 4-year-olds last year, but this year, because of COVID, we are doing kindergarten through 5th grade, right? There's no preschool.
Yeah, because that was there's a whole other, the curriculum was a little different just because younger children learn differently and they're a lot more hands-on and it's harder to explain to them like, well, you have to stay 6 feet away from your friends, so there's just that, So we're 5 years old and up, but next year we hope to have the little lights is what it's called.
Back to it.
You just reminded me of this. So Katie's son and my son were in the same class this last year, and after COVID, I don't know if it looked like this on your end, but they would Zoom with their teacher.
Oh, what a train wreck.
You'd have like 15 kindergartners on their own screens, all talking at exactly the same time. He said hi. Dylan said hi for about 16 minutes. And I'm like, what? Why does he keep doing that? And I went and checked, and all the other kids are doing the same thing too. They just keep saying hi, 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 hi.
And they don't know where the mute button is.
Right.
No.
And I'm sure the teacher had it muted.
Oh, man.
as she was doing whatever she was doing. But that's what I think of when I think of preschool. It's just kind of like,
right.
With VBS, it's just this amorphous, moving noise machine. And
right. And you don't want them to be there and be like, don't touch anything.
Right.
So like they don't quite understand like, well, why can't I touch it? Why, like you still want it to be fun for them. So that was largely the reasoning behind that, having a fun yet safe environment. And if we can't do both of those things, then maybe just to hold off on it until next year for that age group.
Yeah. Okay. So August 9th through the 13th, 6 p.m. to 7:45.
And I think August 9th is a Sunday, right?
It is.
Yep,
Sunday
through
to
Thursday.
Yeah.
So you can come to church Sunday morning and then go take a nap and come back for
Or just stay.
Or I'd say take a nap
Yeah.
before.
Better
I plan
take a
on
nap.
taking a nap before coming back for the main
Yeah.
event.
If you're volunteering, maybe go home, chug some Red Bulls, jumping jacks.
Then you're ready.
Yeah.
Speaking of volunteering, Sarah, have you reached out to the camera people yet? Because I keep threatening my boy that he'll be getting a text, but he hasn't gotten anything yet.
I'll be reaching out to them this week, Ryan. And that's a good, if you are somebody who's listening to this in the FM area who likes doing video or photography, we need volunteers for everything.
Cool.
So,
Okay.
Yeah, we like our volunteers. And our volunteers always, like, I've never heard of a volunteer not having fun.
yeah.
Yeah. We typically get
Well,
them back.
did you
into it.
ask Dave after he got beaten up by all the kids? If
Dave John? Well, he was like, oh, it was I mean, that's kind of his jam. You know,
Yeah.
he had fun.
They didn't have
And he has
sticks or
kids.
anything.
oh, okay, all right.
They had name badges.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And he's a dad, so he knows
Yeah.
what's up.
I loved Shipwrecked. I love that year because I got to be a pirate, which is
I know.
something that I've
Which is like not a part of the theme at all, but I love how you made it one. Yeah. Did you ever? You didn't get the bird though. I remember you talking about the bird.
No, I wanted to have a
bird.
parrot, but I never did bring one.
And an
No.
eye patch. There was no
Well,
eye patch.
you can do that with the Atonement merch too. If you lift it up over your head, it becomes a bandana.
Oh.
Yeah.
This is a bandana too.
It is, yeah. Or my kids are like, it's a full face mask. But you can't see anything. It doesn't seem to bother them. But
Well,
it's fine.
Well, I didn't have the eye patch and I didn't have the parrot, but I did have the pirate jokes all week long.
Yes.
Did you hear?
Arr.
So
Did you hear about the new pirate movie coming out this weekend?
should
No.
just,
It's rated R.
Yeah.
I'll just mute him for listeners' well-being now. We'd like to apologize from all of us at that podcast.
Right.
You want me to unmute you or something?
Yeah. It wasn't an idle threat. She actually carried through with it.
Everybody missed the punchline.
No, they heard it.
Oh, okay, good.
That
unfortunately.
was like a top-notch dad joke.
Yeah.
Right.
The pirate jokes
Yeah.
are great.
So are you gonna have new jokes since this year's Rocky Railway? So it's conductors,
Train.
trains, mountains.
Yeah. What's the coolest part? Have you really picked a favorite yet?
I don't know. I like everything. Like they all fit together so nicely. Like the games are fun, but then the Bible is fun because you're kind of like acting out the story, and there's fun little activities in there, and the sciencey gizmos. Like if we interview the kids at the end sometimes, and you like ask them what their favorite part is, and it's all over the place because it's so hard to pick. Like they're all different. Like they're all fun because if you just did the same thing, I don't think that would be as fun. But they really do a good job at breaking it up. But it all is under the same overarching theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, and so is there a Bible theme or a specific Bible verse, which is what the overall Rocky Railway theme is supposed to be about?
It's
Or is it a bunch
you're
of
putting me on the spot. It's the main theme is, let me see, Jesus' love pulls us through. I'm pretty sure what it is. And then every so then they have like a saying every day that falls under it, like
Yep.
Jesus. Like last year it was like Jesus is there when it's scary. God is there when it's, like all these different situations, and then the Bible story and everything would support that theme for the day. So like there's one big theme, and then there's like 5 daily themes that fit into the bigger theme.
Okay.
So we'll have kids running around go, Jesus pulls us through.
Yes.
They kind of have that cadence
Yep.
all the time.
Yep. We'll
Right.
pick that up.
With emotion, probably like a train whistle or yes.
Yep. By the end, they'll have it for sure.
Let's see, do I have any sound thing?
Hey, where's his mute button?
No, that's okay.
Here's a whistle. Oh, that's not what I was looking for.
I don't think that's the
That's not
whistle that we're
train
looking
whistle. That's not the
for.
one we
Sound
want.
like a train.
Let's go with this one. We'll just clap.
Or it could be little horse hooves.
Yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's a good one.
So, yeah. 9th through the 13th, 6 to 7:45. Sign up by August 2nd.
Yep.
By the end of the day, or is there a time
We'll
cut?
give you till 11:59 p.m.
11:59 and not a second later.
See how generous we are there with the time. Yeah.
If you're listening to this podcast, go
Which
sign up right
podcast?
now. That podcast.
Yeah.
That podcast.
This episode of
I got beat up on that like 2 weeks ago. So
For you listening right now, stop listening. Go sign up. We'll wait. And go.
Are we really gonna wait?
No, we won't wait.
No, we better not. We should put the link in the description, though.
Oh, we will.
Yeah, we'll do that.
And it doesn't take long, especially if you registered before. Like literally, it's like a couple minutes because you're like, oh, information the same, registered.
Well, and even as you're signing up your child, there's even a link on there to sign yourself up to volunteer. So
doesn't get
Too
much
cool.
better than
nope,
that.
all in one
Good
spot. We
times.
make it real easy.
Good times. Anything else about VBS? I thought of a different question while we're all here.
What music is with this year?
Like you're asking me things I don't. So I haven't really looked at the theme because I'm still.
Well,
so
were we gonna do a music component this year because
it's usually in large group and it's
Yeah.
and so no, but I'm thinking I gotta look at the copyright too. But yeah, we'll probably send out. So everyone, if you do whether you do online or in person, we're gonna send you out a link every day with like a very condensed large group that gets the theme. And so we're looking at the possibility of sending out maybe 1 or 2 songs that go with the VBS2 and then you can do them at home. A lot of
Sure.
times they're on YouTube. So they're
Right.
public, so then that would be easy to link them and send them out with the actions, because that is a lot of the kids' favorite part, with whether they admit it or not, is the song with the actions. Because you'll see like everyone doing them, like even the 5th grade boys who are like too cool for school half the time. I'm like, I saw you doing the actions over there.
That I think is my favorite part of VBS is the dancing and the actions and just how into it the kids get. And even
Right.
last year was so fun because in beginning of September, I had a friend's wedding and like we were standing nearby and like they did the hour for the kids dance. And like I overheard, I was like, this is a VBS song.
I know you sent me that video.
I was like, I need to go. Like I know the dance to this one. I got to go.
Right? Yeah,
that-
and like
that's the-
everyone's doing it, so no one's self-conscious.
and that stuff stays with you. I mean, my older kids are in middle school, high school, and love to do VBS, by the way. My daughter's coming back, and she brought her cousin with her last year, and her cousin had a blast leading with VBS. So you might have 2 more
Awesome.
coming there. But they'll hear a song, and all of a sudden I'll see them doing these moves, and it's like, oh, you learned that in VBS like 10 years ago. Like it stays with you. So that's really good stuff. That's good ways to memorize the Word of God and to keep it with you all the time.
Yep, and we keep picking on Dave, but the kids are going to remember the
Pharaoh.
the Pharaoh and the plagues and all that stuff. Yeah, that's gonna stick with them.
Or I remember, so before we did the group product, they used to do VBS, and 1 year my kids were like really little, and Mark was a puppy. I think his name was Cooper the puppy, and I came at the end and I saw him in the skit, and for like years afterwards, like every time Talia saw him, she'd be like, there's Cooper. Or like Mark would be playing the guitar up on stage and she'd be like, there's Mark. He's so funny. Like every time, because of his role as Cooper. So she like correlated him with like VBS and like playing this skit. But like, yeah, so it made him more approachable to her too. Cause she'd be like, I know him from VBS. So it was fun.
Yeah, and by the way, Dave is a listener. So hey, Dave.
Hi, Dave.
Well, and you know, we do it for the kids, and it does make those connections for the kids to discover that, you know, grown-ups can believe in Jesus too, and it's okay to have fun and believe in Jesus too. But I think the adults also get so much out of the VBS weekend. It's like a booster shot,
Right?
for your faith, and it's great. You're super tired at the end of every day, but you're excited to go back the next day after a good night's sleep. So it's a magical week, and I hope everyone comes out and comes to be a part of it.
Yeah. One of my favorite memories was walking on water. What did we use for that? It was the
That's
the water
you realize this is like North Dakota, Minnesota, like 6 months out of the year. That's not a big deal. People walk on water all the time.
that's true. But this
They even
was
drive
summertime.
on water.
This was summertime walking on water. Do you
Oh,
remember
okay.
what I'm talking about? We had the long like
Oh, what did we do?
we used wasn't borax, was it? Or was it?
I'm trying to remember. We set and reset so many things in a day for VBS Tar, and I'm like, what do we need to set up next?
Yeah, it was some concoction that you put together, and if the kids ran fast enough,
Yeah, it
Yes.
was,
They could
I
walk-
don't remember
Right.
exactly
Yep.
what it was, but yeah, something.
yeah, that was neat. That was a cool thing.
It's one of those sciencey experiment things.
Yeah. Yeah. So it'll be fun. I'm excited to volunteer again for it. It's going to be a good time. But I was looking at your shirt. what is Bio Girls?
Oh, that's another fun thing we do here. So it's actually, we are a host site for Bio Girls. Bio stands for Beautiful Inside and Out, and it's a group for girls in going into 4th through 6th grade. And we actually won't, it's usually, we meet in the spring for 12 weeks. It's a 12-week program. And it just, it combines teachings, like we cover different topics, things that kind of plague girls in today's society. We cover things like bullying, having a healthy self-image, what it means to have empathy for others, standing up to the crowd, not just going along with them, and just lots of different things. The curriculum changes every year, which is awesome. And then we always combine it with a physical activity. So we're a running site. And our goal is a 5K. So at the end of our 12-week program, all of our girls can run a 5K. And even if they don't run the whole thing, it's fine. They're just challenging themselves. So if they walk it, it's still a big accomplishment. And it just kind of shows them, and we train for it every week. So we make it more manageable. We break it down. And it just kind of helps them see well, if I can do a 5K, which is something I never thought, it just seemed like this huge distance. What else is there out there that I can do that I didn't think was possible before? So it's really a cool program. And they have yoga sites. I think now this year they had a CrossFit site. They had a dance site. So it's growing. I think it's 60 sites in ND, but now they're in Wisconsin and South Dakota. And it's just such a cool program, and all of the girls that go through it just love it, and parents can see the difference. And that's why it keeps growing, because it's so needed, especially they target girls at the age when statistically their self-esteem begins to dip, because it's kind of right before junior high, and so just kind of counteracting some of the messages they're getting from society and telling them no, you don't have to be this clothing size, you're good, you're valuable just the way you are. You don't have to fit the mold. You were made the way you are for a reason and for a purpose.
Made in the image of God.
Yeah.
Exactly.
God, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Was that started in North Dakota?
Yep. Missy Heilman started it. So their main office is actually, so right over, Coach's Choice, kind of over by Microsoft. By those little office complex. They're right over there is their main office. And then they have different host sites. So Atonement's a host site. And I think Triumph, they had in West Fargo, they had one last year. And
is it mainly churches that are host sites?
It's not, I would say maybe half. It ends up, it is a Christian program. It's a Christian-based program. So churches do end up being hosts a lot, but Mojo Fit, and there was a chiropractor that was one. And so it really can be anyone. Yeah.
And what's the age ranges?
4th through 6th.
4th through 6th. Okay.
Yeah. So we'll have this. So then we'll do, in the fall is typically when we do fundraising and kind of getting awareness. And then spring we'll have a new season again.
Okay. So it's every spring.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're in 9th grade or 10th grade, do they come back and volunteer?
Yeah, they're called junior mentors. So we have 10 mentors because we break the girls down. So every mentor gets 4 girls. They cap it at 40 because they want a genuine small group experience, because they do it's large group, small group again. So we do large group teaching, and then they break down the lesson further in their small groups, and they journal, and they have just different activities that really help them kind of pick apart the lesson. And then we have 2 junior mentors per site, which are usually high school girls, 9th through 12th. I guess they could be junior high too. They submit an application, and so they fill in a lot. If we have a teacher who's missing, or just if there's a girl who needs some extra attention, they kind of sit with that girl and they run with them. And so it's just a really great experience for the mentors and for the participants.
Yeah. I was just thinking, you are really a champion for the girls, all the kids, but the girls for sure, because you do the Bio Girls, and then you do Wonderful You, which is not part of Bio Girls, right? That's a separate thing that you do also.
And that I kind of inherited. That was Barb Hansen started that way back in the day. And it was, so when I came to Atonement, they hadn't done it for a while, but it was such a great program that I still had moms coming up and asking me, why don't you do Wonderful You? My older daughter got to do it, but my younger daughter didn't. And so at that point I was like, okay, I want to do it. I don't feel like I know enough about it. So I reached out to Barb Hansen, and she came back. And then we were lucky to have Hillary Hovdenis, who is an RN, actually a pediatric supervisor at Sanford, and she came back and she does the main presentation, and she is wonderful. She's a mom too, so she just has like the right mix of, you know, like information, but humor, you know, not just like, oh, you know, scaring them with the information, but kind of just presents it in a relaxed but very straightforward way, so they get the information they need. And then I think one of the favorite, you know, because it's all about the changes they're going through in their body and what to expect. And then at the end, we always have a panel of 3 high school girls, and then the kids, the participants who are 4th through 6th again, can ask them anonymous questions, you know, like, when was the first time you got your period? And sorry to take it in that direction on here, but we're going there. You have
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. So, and then the girls, and it's, you know, it's an all female environment, so it's very safe. And then they'll answer them. And we have been so blessed with just such a great panel of girls every year. And they're hilarious. They like no holds barred. They just tell all the stories, and they're always a favorite. Like, everyone does such a good job, but the high school girls are always a favorite because they're, you know, they're relatable. They're not too far off of the age group of the girls they're talking to. And they kind of help the girls to see, like, it's not that scary. And like, even if something super embarrassing happens, like it happened to these girls and they lived and they're laughing about it now. So it's just a fun, it's a really fun day. It's one day a year.
Just
we do it every 2 years.
All girls stuff in that.
All girls.
Yeah. That was, Haley really enjoyed that because there was one story in particular. I don't need to share it here, but she really connected with that because one of the girls on the panel, who she's also really close with, had the exact same experience, and so it was huge for her to hear that. So so Sunday school, VBS, kids club Wednesday nights, bio girls.
Yep.
What am I missing?
And then we do events like movie night and just different egg scramble and Wonderful You and just lots of events throughout.
I loved when you guys were doing them. The movie nights.
Movie nights were
they're
fun. Yeah.
Hopefully, depending on what's going on, but hopefully.
Yeah. Hopefully we can get back to it.
Hey, I would have. He's 6 now. At 5 at the time, I would have 5-year-old begging me to. We got to go to movie night. I'm like, well, you got to clean your room.
What else can I get him to do?
Movie night is a blast.
Go fix the roof, and then we can go do it. Yeah. I loved it.
Yeah.
Loved it.
Yeah.
And, you know, for the folks that are hearing this, when there's another chance for an Atonement movie night, come and be a part of it because it's better than going to a movie theater.
Yeah.
It's the sound quality is just as good. The screens are bigger, and the popcorn is free.
Right. And the part that I love is, like, you can take your whole family. Like, if you have kids that are younger, you don't have to, like, worry about them being super quiet or, like, it's in the gym. If they run around, literally no one cares.
Yeah.
So it's, like, so nice. You don't have to be like that parent, like, shh, like, it's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Good times.
And then there's usually like a middle school specific movie as well.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. We.
My daughter was so proud that one of her picks got picked to watch.
Well, we couldn't get to everybody's because of COVID and whatnot.
Right.
But we'll push them back to next year. We'll get them.
Yeah.
We'll get them all in there. Yeah.
Yeah, because you still have 2 more high school musical movies to show for the
Gross.
middle school specific ones.
we did the first. Well, I offended enough people last week. I'll just leave it alone. This one.
Right.
So, but okay. Well, I think our time is just about up. Is there anything you want to add about Vacation Bible School this year? We'll put all the info in the description for anybody.
Right. I would just reiterate, if you're on the fence about signing up, or, you know, sooner is better than just, or, you know, as long as it's before August 2nd, because I know I get it. I'm a mom. Typically, you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot to sign up for VBS. I've been there too, and I'm the director. So, but yeah, the sooner you can sign up, the better. It's just helpful for us in planning and just getting a good number. And we want to keep small groups small, and we want to have a lot of fun, but we also want to, you know, pay attention to guidelines and keep kids safe. So signing up early helps us do that. And just because it's going to look different, like, it's still still going to be a blast. It's still going to have a lot of the same components that you've come to know and love and expect in VBS. So we're excited.
And again, for all of our loyal listeners, go right now to atonement.live. And we're kind of wrapping things up, so you're not going to miss anything.
Right.
Or just pause it and come back.
Yes. Do it before you forget.
Do it right now.
Right now.
Right now.
This very second. Okay. Well, Katie, thanks for coming on and talking about VBS and all the other stuff you do. And DJ, would you? I forgot to end with a prayer last week. I actually woke up.
You prayed then?
From a deep sleep.
I did.
Well, good. I'm glad you prayed then.
Would you mind praying us out?
I haven't looked at last week's podcast. Is it loaded on and has like 10 hours and a bunch of it's just dead air because we didn't end with a prayer until Ryan prayed in the middle of the night?
Pretty much.
Pretty much?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I'll pray. Let's pray.
All right.
Gracious God, thank you for this time together. Thank you for Katie's ministry and the leadership that she brings. And thank you for blessing her and calling her and bringing her back into faith and blessing her to be a blessing to all of our all the youth at Atonement, but also many, if not the majority of the youth in our Fargo-Moorhead area with the different ministries that she does. And I ask, Lord, that ministry would continue to grow and expand so it does reach all of the youth, all of our families and communities around here, and that it would just continue to spread the love that you have. And also that we are all uniquely created in your image and our image bearers, and that's our identity, and that we can find hope, comfort, and meaning in that truth rather than in all of the false truths that are told to us on a daily basis. Again, Lord, thank you for our time together. Thank you for blessing this conversation, and may we go and point to the love of Christ in all that we do. In Jesus' name, amen.
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 All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. Don't forget that you can always join us every Sunday at atonement.live, atonementfargo.org, or on YouTube by searching Atonement Fargo. We have traditional service at 9, followed by the modern service at 10:30, and all of our past worship services are available on the YouTube by searching Atonement Fargo. So for Sarah DeYoung, Katie Stensgard, and Pastor DJ Lura, I'm Ryan Janke, and meet us back here for another week, next week, of That Podcast.